各位同学大家好，欢迎收看今天英文翻译第2次播出。今天要谈的是中英翻译技巧的第1种方法，叫做单句同步转换。首先介绍和我一块主持节目的魏老师 ，Hi Charles。
大家好，我是魏乔德，欢迎收看。
好，欢迎收看我们的翻译的一些原理和一些策略啊。好，那先看我们今天翻译的原理部分 ，Principles of Translation。我们知道中英单的句子互译的时候，有些句子可以采用我们今天要介绍的单句同步转换。那么这类句子的原文和译文可以称为双语同步，两个语言它同步哈，就是原文和译文在形式和意念上它们极为相似，它们既同形又同义，所以基本上句子的形式是属于表层的结构，那句子的语义呢属于这个深层的结构哈。那么如果原文的表层结构就它的形式啦，跟译文在文中可以保留，而且原文的深层的意念和译文的这种思维的发展它同步的时候，我们就可以依照直译法来进行两种语言的同步的转换。那么下面我们介绍一些这个中英例句哈，是属于双语同步的。翻译的时候呢，很简单，你就采用单句同步转换。那么在原来句型的结构下面，这引导下面，你把适当的字对应的一个一个把它写出来哈，再组织一下就可以了。所以我们来看看今天介绍一些这个同步的一些翻译的句子。
Half of the apples are rotten.
你看到这个完全是同步的 half of 就是一半的苹果烂了，就是一个单句同步转换，几乎是 word by word 一个字一个字哈。好，我们看下面的
Hard work brings success.
勤劳的工作带来成功，也是几乎一字一字的翻，同步双语同步。
Mr. Chen is a qualified doctor.
陈先生是一位合格的医生，这是一个简单的句子哈。再来
David is a hot-tempered boy.
大卫是个火爆脾气的男孩，这个 hot-tempered 的脾气像火一样火爆 hot 热，那在西方红头发的人多半都是比较火爆，我们看图片蛮有趣的哈。好，再来看
The lazy dog is lying on the ground.
这只懒狗正躺在地上，我们几乎是一个字一个字对应的翻译了。
My sister likes wearing red dresses.
我姐姐喜欢穿红色洋装，我们看一下，喜欢这个动词，我们后面可以用动名词 wearing 哈，穿。那么红色洋装叫做 red dresses 啊，洋装叫 dresses。好，我们再往下看。
I am busy studying English.
我正忙着学习英文哈。那英文里面看这个 busy 之后面用 ing 形式哈，所以 busy studying 在翻的时候几乎是一个字一个字可以翻出来。再来
Listen, someone is knocking at the door.
你听，有人在敲门，正在进行式哈，在 is knocking at the door。好，这也是几乎是单句的同步转换。
Mary gave up studying music.
玛丽放弃学习音乐，这个 gave up 这个后面也是接动名词哈，那几乎是同步双语同步了。再来
Don't forget to turn off the TV.
不要忘记关上电视。好 forget to 就是不要忘记去做什么事情，这是一个同步翻译。好，我们看到这一些例句，就是说明了在中英文的单句简单句的翻译的时候，有时候可以刚刚我们这种方法叫这个单句的同步转换。因为它原来的句子跟这个译出来句子在结构和意思上非常的呼应哈，非常的相似， 那可以说两个语言它同步翻。那这种是一个最简单的一个方式，也许你常常也会用到了哈。这是我们第一步第一个最初步的一个方法。好，下面我们看一看名言部分。今天这些 famous quotations 中外名言，我们来试试看，用我们刚刚讲这个单句同步转换法来翻一下，看是不是可以应用得上，一个字对一个字来翻翻看哈。这几句刚好是可以这样翻的，我们来试试看。
No news is good news.
没有消息就是好消息，你看一个字一个字翻的哈。No news 没有消息就是 good news 好消息，这很简单的哈。我们看下面一句。
Sight is a faculty, seeing is an art.
视觉是官能，观看是艺术，这也是我们刚刚讲的同步的翻法哈。那其实这个意思很好，你看是一个官能感官看，可真正来看 seeing 是一种艺术，看你怎么看哈。好，这句话意思很好，我们看下面。
Knowledge is power.
知识就是力量，这是更好的一句名言哈，也是用简单的同步来翻。下面。
All men naturally desire to know.
你看这也是哈，人天性渴望求知。All men 是人 naturally 是一种天性 ，desire 是渴望要知道东西 to know。所以有时候翻这个单句这样翻也是很有意义的哈。这方法很实用。好，那这是我们今天所介绍的翻译理论部分，介绍了一个最基础的、最初阶的一个方法，就是这个同步的一个翻法哈。单句同步来翻，或者我们说双语同步来翻。下面我们介绍今天的绘画的单词部分 vocabulary and expressions。
Update.
最新消息，
So-called.
所谓的
Union busting.
工会被迫解散，
Governor.
州长
Dare.
胆敢
Take on.
承担具有
Monstrous.
怪异的巨大的
Opponent.
反对者，
If that doesn't beat all.
真让人震惊，
Benefit.
利益津贴，
Fund.
提供资金，
Insurance company.
保险公司，
Own.
拥有，
Operate.
营运，
None other than.
正式，
Euphemistically.
委婉地说，
Term.
称为
Collective bargaining.
集体交涉，
Remove.
移除拿掉，
School district.
学区，
In the black.
有盈余，
If only.
但愿只要就好了。
Uncle Sam.
美国政府
Message.
讯息，
Default.
不履行债务，
Debt.
债务，
End up.
最后
Pay the freight.
付账。
Democratic Senate.
民主党居多的参议院，
Republican House.
共和党居多的众议院，
Barrage.
连续多如弹雨，
Charge.
控告攻击，
Countercharge.
反控反击，
Reject.
拒绝，
Wail.
哀叫，
Inflexible.
顽固的，
All the while.
自始至终，
Outsized.
特大型的，
Game of chicken.
胆量比试游戏，
rack up,
得分累计，
point,
分数，
electorate,
全体选民，
judo throw,
柔道摔倒，
whereby,
借以，
attacker,
攻击者，
fling,
用力抛摔，
defender,
防御者，
hit,
打击撞倒，
mat,
垫子，
score,
得分，
initiate,
开始，
move,
行动，
watershed,
转折点，关键时刻，
insistence,
坚持，
expenditure,
支出经费，
slash,
大幅度削减，
little if any,
几乎没有，
tax increase,
加税，
versus,
相对，
demand,
要求，
hike,
增加，
ceiling,
最大限额，
leeway,
余地，
pork barrel,
议员为取悦其选民而使政府发出的地方建设费用，
run up,
费用增加，
bill,
账单，
owe,
欠债，
mess,
一团糟，困境。
to begin with.
首先，好，这是我们今天看的单字部分比较多一点哈，这课比较难一点，要好好听。来，我们先休息一下。好，我们今天这个绘画是有关于政治的，比较复杂一点哈。那我们先看看同学用英文为我们表演一下。
Here's an update on the so-called union busting we saw a few months ago. The governor dared to take on such a monstrous opponent. And now, take a look.
If that doesn't beat all, these so-called benefits for teachers were founded by an insurance company owned and operated by none other than the union.
So, with what they euphemistically termed collective bargaining removed, some school districts find themselves in the black.
And with other states soon to follow, no surprise there.
If only Uncle Sam can get a message and not default on his debts.
Since we both know who will end up paying the freight.
With a Democratic Senate and a Republican House, we can expect a barrage of charges and countercharges. Each rejects the other's plan and whilst inflexible.
And all the while, they are really playing outside game of chicken to rig up as many points with the electorate as they can.
Something like that judo throw whereby the attacker flings the defender with one hand, such that they both hit the mat at the same time.
And it scores a point for whoever initiated the move. The watershed is one-size insistence that expenditures be slashed with little, if any, tax increase.
Versus the other's demand for hiking both taxes and debt ceiling. Allowed us more leeway, report barrel to round up bills, or else we can pay what we owe.
As if everybody didn't know that was what made the mess to begin with.
好，我们接着来谈政治哈。其实美国有两个主要的政党，一个是 Democratic， 一个 Republican。Okay, Charles, what does Democratic Senate mean?
It means the Democrats have the majority in the Senate. You know,
Okay.
the upper house of Congress. Some countries say chamber, and then the lower house or the House of Representatives. Then that's right now the Republicans have a majority there. So they're they got to pretend to take action even when they're not, and they'll give you this stuff like, oh, we have to raise our debt ceiling to pay the bills we're committed to. Well, which of course is absurd because you know when you're paying your bills, you're lowering your debt ceiling. But they just they want to make themselves look good politically, and that comes first for them, or at least a lot of them.
Yeah， 我们刚刚剧中也谈到，就是美国这个民主党居多的是这个参议院，那么共和党居多呢是这个众议院哈，两边都是为了这个经济财经问题在吵这个不休哈。好，我们把这段再用中文给大家来表演一下。
Here's an update on the so-called union busting we saw a few months ago. The governor dared to take on such a monstrous opponent. And now, take a look.
If that doesn't beat all, these so-called benefits for teachers were founded by an insurance company owned and operated by none other than the union.
So, with what they euphemistically termed collective bargaining removed, some school districts find themselves in the black.
And with other states soon to follow, no surprise there.
If only Uncle Sam can get a message and not default on his debts.
Since we both know who will end up paying the freight.
With a Democratic Senate and a Republican House, we can expect a barrage of charges and countercharges. Each rejects the other's plan and whilst inflexible.
And all the while, they are really playing outside game of chicken to rig up as many points with the electorate as they can.
Something like that judo throw whereby the attacker flings the defender with one hand, such that they both hit the mat at the same time.
And it scores a point for whoever initiated the move. The watershed is one side's insistence that expenditures be slashed with little, if any, tax increase.
Versus the other's demand for hiking both taxes and debt ceiling. Allowed us more leeway, report barrel to round up bills, or else we can pay what we owe.
As if everybody didn't know that was what made the mess to begin with.
好，我们看要不要加税哈 ，increase tax。那每个政府的这个党都在说要加是不加。其实我们讲到这个债务的时候，刚刚谈到有这个in the black， 那一个 in the red，what does that mean?
Well, in the black means to run a surplus, and in the red means to run a deficit. And like they said, the federal government and many, if not most, states are. Guess which one they're doing. See, there's the report I got at that time that was happening in Wisconsin, and at that time there were between 40 and 45 states that were violating their own constitutions by running a deficit. See, in the red. See, and I think you may have heard the story from Wisconsin. You know, that new governor of theirs, and he was standing up to the unions and like that.
OK， 老师说我们在记账里会有经验。如果说是黑色，就是表示说你有盈余嘛哈。那你用红色表示赤字了。老师说美国好多州他们真的是都赤字，那这政府要想办法了。好，那我想特别介绍，刚刚有一个叫做 judo throw 哈，就是柔道摔跤这样子。What does that mean?
Well, it means something that you use to topple your opponent and onto the mat. See.
就是我们在柔道的时候，你会把对方弄绊倒的，弄倒在垫子上，两个都倒下去，摔倒。
So there's more than one, I guess, but this particular one that lets go with one hand and trips the opponent that way, and then they both go down to the mat at the same time. But the one who does this first, and they both take the fall, then one who initiated the move, like they said, scores.
对，刚刚说这个，譬如你把对方的用一个手把他弄倒，脚呢踢出去把他绊倒，对不对？那如果说你先主动，就是赢1分哈。老师这样讲，我们这个柔道的这个一些规则技巧也蛮有趣，同学可以了解一下。外国人对这运动蛮有研究的哈。好，我们刚刚谈了一些政治啦，一些运动。来，我们下面看看我们的这个问题部分 questions。
Question 1, which is the main topic of this conversation? A, sports, B, politics, C, crime, D, education.
B, politics.
Question 2, which does the woman show the man at first? A, news item, B, athletic contest, C, TV schedule, D, dish of food.
A, news item.
Question 3, what do the speakers believe is the underlying problem? A, censored information, B, classroom discipline, C, bureaucratic red tape, D, excess spending.
D, excess spending.
Question 4, what do the speakers think their leaders care about most? A, balanced budget, B, national defense, C, voter preferences, D, communication breakdown.
C, voter preferences. 好，都是在这个争取这个选票哈 ，voter preferences。来，我们先休息一下。来，现在做我们的翻译句型练习 ，Let's practice。
The governor dared to take on such a monstrous opponent, and now, take a look.
州长胆敢对抗猛兽般的反对者，而现在你看看，我们来做一个 take on 与谁对抗？这周末公牛队将对抗塞尔提克队。公牛队叫 The Bulls， 塞尔提克队叫 Celtics。来，我们走走看。
This weekend, the Bulls will take on the Celtics. This weekend, Bulls will take on Celtics.
好，哪没有错？
Both grammatically right, but in this sense, we would say the. We would.
我们这个队伍多加 the 会比较好哈。虽然文法上好像没有错，但是加 the 比较正确。我们另外做做看。
The Bulls lock horns with the Celtics as of this weekend.
好，我们看 lock horns， 那个动物两个脚把它缠起来了，好像对抗的意思。好，那我们再看下一句。工会与政府对抗，并且获胜。
The unions took on the government and win. The unions took on the government and won.
哪一个有错？
All right, this is one of those where you shouldn't mix tenses in the same sentence. So if you do, you're going to sound like Chinglish.
好，有时候我们讲这个英文都没有注意到时态哈，前面是 took 过去式，应该用过去式 won， 不是 win 哈。好，另外做做看。
The unions stood up to the government and prevailed.
好，顺利的 prevailed。我们看下一句。
These so-called benefits for teachers were funded by an insurance company owned and operated by none other than the union.
这些所谓的教师利益，正是由一间工会拥有以及操作的保险公司所资助的。我们来学一个 fund 提供资金。学校已同意资助我的研究计划。
The school has agreed to fund my research project. The school has agreed to funding my research project.
哪一个有错？
Both grammatical, really, but it's just that the first one's definitely more common. We would use it as a verb phrase, and the second one like a prepositional phrase. So funding there would be a noun.
好，我们用 fund 比较好哈。那我们看下面怎么另外做做看。
The school has assented to bankrolling my study.
好，资助可以用 bankrolling， 也可以这意思哈。
Yeah, and you
来，我
could
们
say
看下面
funding
一句
there too. Yeah.
我们看下一句。环保署资助空气污染的研究。我们环保署怎么说？
Environmental Protection Agency.
好，我们试试看。
The Environmental Protection Agency is fund research into air pollution. The Environmental Protection Agency is funding research into air pollution.
好，哪边错了
Well, first one's ungrammatical, of course. You have to say is funding.
？Yeah, is funding 正在资助，对不对？进行式。好，我们另外做做看。
The EPA is financing studies of atmospheric contamination.
好，那 EPA 就刚刚说的 Environmental Protection Agency 缩写哈，那 financing 是资助的意思。我们看下面一句。
If only Uncle Sam can get the message and not default on his debts.
但愿山姆大叔，美国政府能收到这个信息，并不拖欠他的债务。我们来学 default on 或者 in something 不履行或拖欠的意思。我表哥拖欠他的就学贷款，我们看怎么说就学贷款。
Student loan.
好，试试看。
My cousin defaulted on student loan. My cousin defaulted on student's loan.
哪边错了？
We wouldn't use students that way unless it was an apostrophe, or we had an apostrophe there. And so actually, more often we would say his or her or the student loan, but you can say it that way and still be
这可以
grammatical.
用那个 apostrophe student APS 也可以哈。好，我们另外做做看。
My cousin failed to pay back the student loan.
好，没有付款 fail to pay back。来，我们看下一句。你必须试着不违背自己的承诺。
You should try not default on your promises. You should try not to default on your promises.
好，第一个错了，为什么错？
Because we really do need an infinitive form there.
啊，要不定词 try not to 哈。来，另外做做看。
You should strive to keep those promises you've made.
很好。这个 promises you've made 你的承诺哈。来，我们看下一句。
We both know who will end up paying the freight.
我们都知道谁最后会支付花费。来学这个 end up 结束最后。这些剩菜可能最后会成为狗的食物。我们看最后会成为，我们说 end up us 哈，来做做看。
The leftovers will probably end up as dog food. The leftovers will probably end up as dog foods.
啊，哪个错了？
In this sense, we would use food as a non-countable noun.
我们这边是食物不能数，不要加 s 哈。另外来做做看。
Whatever's not eaten will probably feed the dogs.
好，我们下面一句。你如果再继续这样花钱，最后可能会负债。
You will end up in debt if you carry on spending like that. You will end up in debt if you carry on spend like that.
啊，哪边错了？
We need a ing form to serve as a noun. Yeah.
要 on 后面用这个介意词后面用 ing form。另外做做看。
You'll find yourself in the red unless you curb expenditures.
刚刚讲 in the red 就是负债的意思哈。好，我们看下一句。
As if everybody didn't know that was what made the mess to begin with.
好像大家都不知道，那正是混乱的开端。我们来学 as if 犹如好似。他讲起话来犹如一位政治家。好，我们做做看。
She talks as if she were a politician. She talks as if she is a politician.
哪个错了？
You use the subjunctive here, so
好。
were is better.
我们假设语气的时候，哈，语现是相反，要过去式要用 were。另外做做看。
Her words have a political ring to them.
Political ring 有这个政治的这种声音在里头哈。好，我们就今天上到这里了，回去大家复习一下，再见了，下次见，拜拜。